Welcome to Divergent Dialogues, where we, Teena and Caitlin, delve into our personal and professional experiences of being accredited mental health social workers, neurodivergent affirming therapists who specialise in working with autistic folks and ADHDers, researchers, and neurodivergent ourselves, autistic ADHDers. Our podcast aims to provide a unique, holistic perspective of neurodivergent mental health and therapy from those who not only practice it, but also live it. Our podcast is guided by our values of integrity, honest and ethical, equity, fairness and social justice, wisdom, integrating theory, research, practice experience and lived experience, and curiosity, openness to different perspectives and lifelong learning. When you know better, you do better. Each episode, we unpack a topic pertinent to autistic folks and ADHDers using the multidimensional theory of human development, exploring inner experiences, intersectionality, and how it interacts with the environment, relationally, socially, culturally, and systemically. We also discuss how evidence-based therapeutic approaches can be modified to be neurodivergent affirming. We share our journeys navigating life and work as autistic ADHDers and how these experiences have shaped our therapeutic approach. From our struggles to our triumphs, we offer an authentic insider's look at neurodivergent life, providing valuable insights aiming to enhance understanding and empathy to contribute to social and systemic change for autistic folks and ADHDers. Caitlin, I have a private practice in Brisbane called Cathartic Collaborations. So I'm an accredited mental health social worker in private practice. Currently an academic tutor at one of the universities in Brisbane, and I'm also just about to start a PhD researching autistic mental health. So I'm really excited to be starting that in the beginning of 2024.
My name is Teena, and I am also an accredited mental health social worker in private practice. My practice is called Balance Centre for Mental Health, and you can find me in North Brisbane as well. I'm also an academic tutor at one of the universities in Brisbane, and just about to start my PhD, which will be a qualitative exploration of women's experience in accessing assessment and diagnosis of neurodiversity in adulthood. As you can probably guess, Caitlin and I are pretty much the same person.
Yeah, we share a few personality traits. But yeah, it's I'm really lucky to have Teena because we do have so many similarities, and pretty lucky to have someone to do this whole PhD journey with. Hopefully I won't tear too many hairs out. But yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So cool. Yeah, so Teena, it would be really helpful if you can give us a little bit of an overview of the HARM's multidimensional approach to human development. For those of you that are listening, I can put a link in the show notes to this diagram. Otherwise, you can watch this on YouTube.
So
take it away, Teena.
Thank you. So this is a great little diagram of HARM's as multi-dimensional approach. And as you can see, we have the inner world and the outer world. So they're sort of two main concepts of the multi-dimensional approach. And this is a perspective of human development and behavior that social workers incorporate into their practice. It's very much so a holistic understanding of well-being. So the multidimensional approach acknowledges that people occupy influence and are influenced by multiple dimensions simultaneously. So these things are all sort of going on at once, and they can be, quite complex and sometimes really difficult to pull apart. So it's not possible to only address one thing at a time when they all do influence and are influenced by each other. So if we look at the inner world, which is like the biopsychosocial and spiritual dimensions, they're all sort of interacting simultaneously as well. And then a person's environment, which is made up of their relationships between people and environments, and that highlights all human behavior. It emerges as a result as intrinsic links between people and their environments. So that's looking at things like where they live, where they grew up, what structural resources did they have access to, you know, hospitals, schools, things like that. What was the culture that they grew up in, and around their families? What are their families' family culture and norms that they experienced? You know, it's always interesting listening to other people talk about things that were so accepted in their family, and you know, you've never experienced it in your own family. So it's really interesting and important to understand how strong those influences can actually be.
Yeah. It just made me think of when you know, a child comes through my practice and I identify them as an autistic ADHDer, and I'm describing some of I guess their traits, and the parents like, oh, well, I do that, or oh, that's usual, like everyone in our family does that. And I'm like, I wonder why.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's a really interesting point, because that's quite often why so many people travel through life not knowing that they're autistic or ADHD, because they've been raised in these families. No one has a diagnosis. No one knows what their neurotype is, but they're all just so accepting of these like little quirks to personality, and they're just nurtured. But then you grow up and you head out into the real world, and all of a sudden people are constantly telling you that you're not quite normal, and it's like,
yeah,
I thought I was. And you start asking questions and realize, right, okay, so that is a bit different.
yeah,
Still normal, just different.
yeah. And I guess we thought that this model would be really helpful because I think sometimes the perception of autistic folks and ADHD is it can be very one-dimensional. You know, that there is, I guess, those stereotypes portrayed in, you know, in the media. So we wanted to show that there's many facets and complexities to autistic ADHDers. And also as social workers, we felt that this model really fit well for us because we work in that holistic way, and we do see that complexity, and we don't think that there's just one solution for everything. And it also fits in really well with the neurodivergent affirming movement that not only talks about that inner world stuff, but also that outer world, you know, the cultural, social norms and that influence on autistic and ADHDers. So Teena, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about how I guess social work fits into all of this.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, both Caitlin and I are social workers, and our social work training does bring a different approach to working with autistic folk and ADHDers, and well, just a different sort of view on mental health, well-being, life in general. And I'm going to refer back to Harms's definition of social work because, well, I really like it. And we do underpin everything we do from her sort of framework, the multidimensional approach. So Harms defines social work as social workers have a long-standing concern with influencing environments, relationships, and inner experiences, so they are supportive of positive experiences, experiences of human growth, health, and satisfaction. This is reflected in our current global definition of social work, where it is stated that our aim is to be a practice-based profession and an academic discipline discipline that promotes social change and development, social cohesion, and the empowerment and liberation of people. I really like that. And, social work as a profession, we have guiding principles and underpinning theories of like social justice, human rights, collective responsibility, respect for diversities. They're all central to social work.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to mention that, with the neurodiversity affirming movement, a lot of these sorts of changes in practices are quite new for a lot of other allied health and workers. But for social workers, we've been doing this for years and years and years. Like, we've always been about advocacy, social justice, working holistically, working systemically with people. So I think social workers are really well positioned to be working with autistic folks and ADHDers in a neurodivergent affirming way.
Yeah. Meeting people where they're at rather than helping them to meet society's expectations.
I think it's also important to mention a bit about accredited mental health social workers. So, as we mentioned before, Teena and I are accredited mental health social workers. And in order to become one, you have to do 2 years postgraduate from your bachelor and master's degree in social work, specializing in clinical mental health practice. And also you have to complete a lot of additional training around focused psychological strategies. So in addition to, I guess, what we've discussed with social workers, we can also deliver therapies and psychological interventions to autistic ADHDers as well. So again, I think that positions us really well to provide a really holistic service for autistic ADHDers. Is there anything else that you think I've missed, Teena, in that around?
No, I think you summed that up nicely. To maintain our accreditation and our Medicare provider status, we do also have to maintain continuous professional development and clinical supervision. So we have to maintain a pretty high standard of practice to remain accredited mental health social workers.
Yeah. Listeners and viewers may have noticed by our accents that we are from Australia. So I guess it's important to mention that a lot of the stuff that we will be talking about will be more catered towards the Australian context. But there may be international listeners that may still get benefit out of some of the things that we do discuss. But yeah, like things like Medicare and things like that, that is Australia based. But we'll try and keep it broad, but I guess especially when we're talking about the cultural aspects, it probably is more going to be around Australian culture because it's its own unique little thing. Thank you to everyone that has listened to our introductory podcast. So we're hoping to put out a podcast every fortnight for everyone to listen to. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing, I guess, what this podcast grows into. And we really appreciate all of our listeners and any support that you can give us.